Men don't understand themselves, yet they claim to understand women. That's the tragic irony Plato exposed centuries ago. We live chained in a cave, worshipping shadows, illusions of love, devotion, and destiny. She smiles, and we collapse. She withdraws, and we chase. But here's the brutal truth: it's not her power that enslaves you. It's your illusions. You build false gods in your mind, worshipping fantasies instead of reality. Every time you fall for a pretty face or a sweet word, without questioning what lies beneath, you tighten your chains. Plato called this divine madness, a spiritual slavery where pleasure pulls you away from reason and wisdom. If you don't master yourself, you'll never truly see her. You'll be a puppet dancing for attention, sacrificing your dignity and purpose. The real battle is within. The question is, when will you break free and become the master of your own soul? Men rarely understand themselves fully, yet many confidently claim to understand women. This paradox is not a new problem. It has echoed through the halls of philosophy for millennia. Though Plato never wrote relationship advice or handed out dating tips, his philosophical explorations hold profound truths about this very dilemma. Plato confronted a far deeper issue than mere romantic folly. He exposed the blindness men suffer regarding their own minds and desires. Long before men were captivated by beauty or beguiled by the gentle allure of femininity, Plato identified the core struggle. An untrained mind becomes a playground for deception and illusion. Recall the allegory of the cave, where prisoners are chained in darkness, watching shadows flicker on a wall and mistaking those illusions for reality. They build their lives around these shadows, worshipping mere reflections rather than truths. Most miss an essential layer. These shadows are not just societal or political deceptions. One of the most potent shadows cast upon a man's mind is the idealized image of womanhood, an illusion crafted not by women themselves, but by the stories men tell themselves. This false ideal enslaves men emotionally, steering them away from clarity and self-mastery. Plato warned that society clings stubbornly to comforting illusions and fiercely defends them. Few illusions are more intoxicating than the belief that women are pure, innocent, and incapable of manipulation. It is within this grand theater of self-delusion that men lose themselves. A smile is mistaken for love. Tears become sincerity. A touch transforms into destiny. Plato would say these are the actions of prisoners refusing to face the light, preferring shadows, because truth demands courage. True knowledge, Plato argued, begins when we admit that we know nothing. Yet, how many men truly define what it means to understand a woman beyond appearances? How many study the subtle influence of femininity with the rigor reserved for politics, war, or commerce? Almost none. And so, women command the emotional landscape of men effortlessly, not by scheming, but simply by reflecting the weaknesses men refuse to acknowledge within themselves. Plato's philosophy teaches us that the greatest deception is self-deception. Men convince themselves that their love is rational and pure, yet they remain prisoners to illusions crafted by their own minds. These mental chains bind them far more tightly than any physical restraint ever could. The woman does not manipulate a man directly. Rather, his illusions about her do. The false goddess residing in the mind controls the man's emotions and decisions, leading him to collapse at a smile or chase after absence. He calls this surrender devotion, but Plato warns that living in shadows blinds men to reality until it scorches their eyes. Men sit believing their hearts are pure, their intentions noble, their love righteous. But if they step outside themselves and adopt the philosopher's gaze, they would see a man who mistakes chains for wings and illusions for truth. Plato never softened the harshness of the human condition. In one of his dialogues, he compares the soul to a chariot pulled by two horses, one noble seeking reason and discipline, the other wild craving pleasure and temptation. The charioteer, the man, is locked in a constant battle to control these conflicting forces. This inner war is where most men falter. Every time a woman appears, the wild horse rears. It pulls men toward laughter, scent, curves, and attention. And the driver, untrained and weak, lets himself be dragged to ruin. Men do not question this madness. They accept it as love, unaware that Plato saw it as spiritual slavery. In his Symposium, Plato describes love not as a mutual joy, but as madness, sent by the gods, a divine blindness that causes men to worship beauty's image while neglecting true essence. This divine madness consumes those who lack self-control, turning them into slaves of fleeting pleasure and worshippers of shadows. Here lies the brutal twist. Women understand this truth. Whether consciously or instinctively, they grasp the power they hold over a man who has not disciplined his soul. She does not need cruelty to destroy. Her mere existence as an idealized prize in a man's mind suffices. Men elevate her into their purpose, their meaning, their reward, and in doing so they lose sight of who she truly is. This is the perfect recipe for manipulation, though it is not always intentional on her part. What Plato feared more than war was the corruption of the soul. He warned that men who cannot govern themselves become governed by others, tyrants, flatterers, sophists, and the greatest flatterer of all is the woman who understands a man's craving for validation. She becomes the puppeteer, he the eager puppet. Men dance for attention, sacrificing dignity, purpose, and mission, yet the game began long before she entered the scene. The real battlefield is within, a war between the higher self and base desires. Every time pleasure triumphs over principle, fantasy over reality, men do not fall because of external forces, but because they defeat themselves. Plato argued that the just man does not allow lust to dominate his soul. Yet many men negotiate with their emotions, hoping to be chosen, validated, completed by the feminine ideal. Such men have left the cave only to construct a new prison, gilded with golden bars and velvet chains. The question is, when did you last question why you chase women? When did you last ask whether she leads you toward truth or deeper into illusion? Few men dare ask because it demands courage, the courage to admit being fooled and to face uncomfortable truths about love and devotion. Until men face this reality and stand like the philosopher in the light of truth, they remain slaves not to women, but to the idea of women they refuse to question. Plato understood that society's narratives are designed to maintain order and obedience. Nowhere is this clearer than in the myths men are told about women, that they are their better halves, their completions, the keys to happiness. Plato, however, understood better. He emphasized in the Republic that those who have seen the truth must rule, but tragically most men never become masters of their own minds. The soul, Plato said, is divided into reason, spirit, and appetite. Reason seeks wisdom and truth. Spirit seeks honor and recognition. Appetite seeks pleasure and comfort. Most men, when it comes to women, live almost entirely through appetite. A smile brings pleasure, attention brings validation, touch brings life. But this is the lowest, most dangerous part of the soul. Plato warned that if it is not ruled by reason, it will lead a man to ruin. This explains why women hold such terrifying influence over weak men. They do not need to challenge your mind or respect your mission. Feeding your appetite is enough to enslave you. Like a man lost in a desert, you crawl on your knees begging for validation while she stands over you, holding the water you once had the power to create. Look around. Men betray families for a stranger's touch. Men destroy empires for the approval of women who do not respect them. Men lose themselves when she leaves. What clearer proof is there that you are ruled by the lowest part of your soul? Here is Plato's greatest warning, hidden in plain sight. Men who cannot govern themselves will be governed by others. Those others may be tyrants, false teachers, or flatterers, and sometimes the greatest of these flatterers is the woman who knows your deepest vulnerabilities. She becomes the puppeteer, and you become the puppet, dancing to her tune, sacrificing all that defines you. But the true battle is within. The soul is a chariot pulled by reason and desire, and the man must become a skilled charioteer to navigate life. Every choice between pleasure and principle, fantasy and reality, determines whether you fall into slavery or rise into freedom. To master love, you must master yourself. You must refuse to be deceived by illusions and shadows. You must cultivate wisdom, discipline, and self-awareness. Only then can you truly see women as they are, beyond the myths and projections that cloud your mind. Only then can you engage in relationships that elevate rather than diminish your soul. If this journey into the mind and soul resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into philosophy, human nature, and timeless wisdom. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you see the battle between reason and desire playing out in your life? Remember, true understanding begins within. Stay curious, question everything, and keep seeking the light beyond the shadows. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.